Mike Hogwood, Scott Douglas, welcoming you back to San Antonio on the Alamo Dome. What's that all about? Let's take a look at Dan Patrick's hauler. I think you'll be amazed.
Okay, welcome to the Samson hauler. Here's what we got. This is the shop area. We do all the repairs, or I do all the repairs in between rounds or in between shows, actually. When we're traveling with the truck and the trailer, I can come in here and work, do anything I want. You'll see where I've fixed a generator for a distributor, and we stock all of our broken parts here, so when we get back, we're pretty much set to go. One thing we definitely have that's very important when you travel like we do is a full shower. This isn't a camper shower. This is 150 gallons of pure enjoyment. The truck sits here. Underneath the truck is storage. A lot of the heavy parts go underneath. You'll see the small tires. That is the tires that it is transported on. It sets up here. Then the big tires that you see on the truck when we race it, two go on the bottom. Then there's an elevator that takes them to the ceiling. And then there's the other two go underneath. So it's all packed in real tight. What's different from this trailer than your conventional cup trailers and your trailer trailers, this is a full-blown accommodating for living on the road. Actually has a 30-foot lounge living area, has a king-size bed. One thing that isn't in here that normally is in here, it has a home theater, satellite TV. You'll think, well, that's pretty plush living, but when you're in here 320 days a year, it's home, but it's still not home.
I'll tell you, Dan Patrick is something. That's a great hauler.
Amazing, and he's got to have it that way. You know, you mentioned 320 days a year on the road, and that may be just an estimate that's a little low. He is constantly gone, but he's constantly performing well. We're going to see him in a minute. Right now, though, look at Reptoid. Isn't that a great look? You're talking about side-by-side or bracket-style eliminations. Doesn't matter what the time is. It matters if you win or not. Well, there's our buddy Dan Patrick back in Samson.
Yeah, going against Cyborg Jack Coburna.
Coburna will be coming out of Tulia, Texas. And Coburna, longtime veteran, as is Samson. So no rookies in this race. These guys know their way around the course.
Dan Patrick, a 20-year veteran of monster truck racing. Jack Coburna's been in the business for 14 years, so these guys, as you say, do know what they're doing.
Samson, another truck with all that horsepower from the Keith Black Hemi engine, 572 cubic inches, and he can put horsepower to the ground. Trouble with the turns, though, and that's going to be a critical portion of this race.
Some of these trucks seem to have so much horsepower and get going so hard down that straightaway that they just can't get slowed down enough to make that turn smooth.
You hit it, because Cyborg's given away a whole bunch of horsepower here, but he cornered better and almost pulled the upset. Nonetheless, give the win to Samson. Dan Patrick moves into the second round.
And here we are back in San Antonio. And yes, they like their monster truck action here. A lot of smiles here. This place is packed. And now we've got coming up here Samson against Reptoid.
This ought to be a dandy race. Dan Patrick, of course, as we've talked about throughout the show, with all that horsepower. Jim Jack and Reptoid, you'll remember, won in the first round only because of the problems that the Barefoot faced. So we'll see if Reptoid now is able to get things going and have a good run. Dan Patrick was strong and solid. Let's see if Samson is able to move on into the semifinals.
Earlier in our show, you saw the feature on Dan Patrick and how he spends almost the entire year on the road living out of that hauler. He is a great mechanic as well as a pretty good monster truck driver.
He's a true monster truck professional. Jim Jack out of Florida has the Reptoid going pretty good, but watch the horsepower now from Samson up and over, and Dan Patrick records the victory over a game Jim Jack. Reptoid was in the race until the final turn.
Now, we watch it again. Samson and Dan Patrick, that horsepower just too much. Here we are back at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Monster truck semi-final action. Coming up right now, it is Monster Patrol and Samson.
Paul Schaefer bringing out the Monster Patrol Chevrolet against Dan Patrick's awesome Samson. These two are among the elite in Pace Motorsports Monster Jam action. They're lining up right now. The winner goes to the finals. The losers on the trailer.
In case you missed our show last week, we were talking about Samson and Dan Patrick. What a great mechanic he is. Does it all. Lives out of his hauler over 300 days a year. And that's quite a contraption itself, and I love this truck.
Remember, with Gravedigger out and Barefoot already out, the winner of this race has a great chance to move up in the standings as they battle for their share of the $100,000 Pace Motorsports Monster Jam Point Fund. This is a big race. And it is tight.
Dan Patrick, a 20-year veteran. He has been in many of these kind of big races on this Chicago-style course. How about Samson?
I'll tell you what, Monster Patrol almost pulled that out on the final leap, but he comes up inches short. Watch, out of your screen, you're going to see Monster Patrol out of nowhere, but just not quite enough. Samson, consistent all the way around. Dan Patrick's in the final.
Mike Hogwood, Scott Douglas back in San Antonio. We're getting ready for what I think Scott's going to be a great monster truck fight.
It's got it all. A couple of guys who are really trying to move up in that battle for their share of the $100,000 Pace Motorsports Championship point fund. Samson and Gun Slinger in the final.
Dan Patrick, certainly the veteran. But remember, Scott Hartsook, the pilot of Gun Slinger. Son's got a birthday. He's got all kinds of reasons to win, and he's had a great night here in San Antonio.
Every motorsports fan's dream, Ford versus Chevy in the finale, and the Chevrolet-powered Samson got a good start, but having trouble bogging down in the turn. It's Gunslinger.
Gunslinger in the Ford is your monster truck winner here tonight.
Just that little bobble in the turn cost Dan Patrick the victory, and looky here, gonna freestyle a little bit. Scott Hartsock is one happy monster truck driver.
Fought off a lot of stiff competition here in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, and on this very difficult course, the Chicago-style course. Give Gunslinger a lot of credit. He really accomplished something with this one.
He's just having fun right now, letting the fans see him and just doing a little freestyle for him in San Antonio.
And the crowd at San Antonio really appreciative of his efforts and what he's done, and they like their monster truck action here. Samson, though, give him a lot of credit. Dan Patrick, and we've told you a lot about Dan and the veteran of so many years and so many monster truck wars, and gave it a good run.
This may be one of the most popular points of Pace Motorsports action when you see Pace Motorsports Monster Jam. As after the races are done, these drivers want the fans to really see the trucks in action. And in freestyle, look, they can just go do whatever they want. Sideways, tear the course up. It doesn't matter. And I'll tell you, the more these fans at San Antonio yell and keep rocking, the crazier these guys get. It's fun.
Fun for us is to sit back and watch a little freestyle.
See how relaxed Dan Patrick looked in there in the wheel as he was gunning that 10,000-pound monster? Just had the wheel kind of in one hand, having a good time.
Yeah, these guys are having a lot of fun right now. They have worked hard. Both of them made it to the finals on a very difficult course. And there's your winner, Gunslinger.
That's what you really got to love about this. The $100,000 Pace Motorsports Monster Jam point fund on the line for the racing. This is all for the fans, and you can see these guys absolutely let it all hang out. And it's just going to be this way every week on Motor Madness. And when you look at the quad wars that we're building up to the championship toward the end of the year, some great pro stadium trucks, I'll tell you, every Friday night, this is the rocking place to be.
It was the place to be here in the Alamo Dome, I can tell you that. We had a great crowd tonight. Enthusiastic. They were really into it. And just shows if monster truck action or a monster jam comes anywhere near you, make sure you go out and experience this live and in person. Well, our drivers have climbed out of their machines. Let's go down and visit with them now.
Well, you know, Scott's really an up-and-comer. He's really running strong. I never took him for granted for a minute. The change comes a little bit. It kind of threw me off balance, but I'm not going to make excuses. You know, I knew he was going to run really hard. And I just got beat. You know, that's just the way it goes, you know. And he's got a long season, and the thing is, just getting to the finals, you know, I'm happy with that, you know. And so, law ravagers usually catches up with us, you know. So, it was a good show. Nobody got hurt. That's, you know, the main thing. Safe show. It was good racing, and Scott flat beat me. That's all there was to it.